Yo, what's going everyone? What's going on, everyone? Oh my god. Chucking my water there just a second. But anyway, welcome back to FriggHome, transforming your everyday life with DePINs and innovation. My name is Ice, and I'll be your host for today's show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, whether you guys are crypto veterans or, as we like to call it, Web2 normies, or maybe you're neither, but you are on the fence about diving deeper into the world of decentralization, then today's live stream is one that you absolutely do not want to miss. And we have been lucky enough to get this man to join us once again on the Founders live stream. And today we're going to learn more about what decentralization really looks like through the lens of a project founder. So, without further ado, please welcome back the founder and the CEO himself of FriggHome. What's going on, Axel? How are you doing today, man?
Hey, how are you? I'm feeling very good. Market is up, and
Yeah.
yeah, but it's always time to build, so I'm feeling good.
Oh man, I can't believe actually just what went down over the past, like, I think 24 hours. Because originally Monday, I got up on Monday, I think, like, okay, cool, a green chart, it's like 1%, it's not bad. But yeah, yesterday just absolutely exploded, and we're seeing so much more momentum, both and even in vibes too, to be honest, right? Just like all over the TL, and even I think even just going just going around and talking to people, you can kind of feel that the candles and the charts really does drive the sentiment a little bit. But how are you feeling about that,
Yeah,
Axel?
no, but yeah, that's so true. Like I remember 1 week ago, everyone on X was saying it's finished. Ethereum will go below 1,000. Everyone started to doubt about it, and as I always say, okay, it sounds maybe a little bit naive, but I think the tech behind Web3 is very nice because there's a lot of builders. And what Web3 allowed us is to monetize our technology. We do not need longer to have a VC or bank that, of course, it's a big catalyzer, I would say, but we do not need them as much as we used to need them before, like in the 90s, for example.
Hmm.
So, so yeah, like we are building a lot of amazing tech, and people tend to forget it with the shorts when it's red.
Indeed, when emotions run rampant, people kind of forget about the reason why we were here in the first place, right? But I do agree with you, Axel. I think the tech is amazing, and the thing I think one of the major obstacles and challenges that we have to overcome here is allowing others to see how amazing that tech is. Because I think when it comes down to it, humans are fickle creatures, right? We don't like to learn unless we really have to. So I think the same thing can be applied when it comes down to blockchain and cryptocurrency. But on the topic of really understanding the tech behind how this works, and I think this is the reason for us to be in this live stream today, is to learn more about what decentralization actually looks like through your eyes, Axel. So without further ado, would love to get into this, man. And that is the first question that kind of wanted to throw your way is, we often discuss how decentralization, it can be overhyped or it can be completely misunderstood, right? So, in
Yeah,
your eyes, Axel, what do you think are the most practical ways that decentralization can help deliver value to Web3 users, developers, or even business owners?
that's a very good question, and I think there is actually three answer to this. Those three answers are designated for three kind of people, right? The first will be the four users. Um, as Chris Dixon wrote in his very good book that I really encourage everyone to read if you're interested in blockchain, which it's called Read Write Own, and it's a book that gives a lot of context on uh, from the beginning of the internet to now, what's going on, and it gives the whole context. And I think the one of the most practical way decentralization delivered value to the users is by allowing them to own their data, which was not possible back then in the Web 2. And he called that the network, the corporate network, he used to call that. So I think with this, we can do extraordinary thing. And I remember Leon Aboud, uh, to to quote the OG, I would say, had a very good idea about the NFT. He said that it would be nice if we could do like KYC once, making in a kind of official NFT, and after just use this NFT to sign up on official platforms such as Central Exchange or things like this. So they don't get your data, but they get to know that you are eligible. And I think that would be an amazing idea. And I think it's very possible with technology such as zero knowledge proof, for example, or FHE, which stands for fully homomorphic encryption. Those technology are very promising. So I think for the users, it will empower them by keeping their data for themselves. So no single entity can, let's say, use their data for evil intention, like we saw in the past with, you know, I'm a Web2 marketer at the base, like before I used to do a lot of Web2 marketing.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest way to scale your business when you do Web2 is to do ads. It's not so common for Web3, but for Web2, it's very common. And basically, you just buy data when you do this. And when you have good product, good marketing, you're, let's say, a good person, like you will use it for good things. But there is so much scam, man. I remember one of my Facebook account got scammed by some guys in South America. I remember I had to claim it to Facebook, and I don't know what they were selling. I couldn't understand their thing, but I'm sure it's like to scam some grandma, unfortunately. And I
Right.
think Web3, sorry, not Web1, Web3 can prevent these kind of things. And also, I don't know for yourself, Ice, but a lot of people, especially those people that are in evaluating country such as India, Africa, or in Africa, or like they have some struggle with banks, international banking, because they are seen as scam countries. You know, so with Web3, they can transfer funds very easily, and I think that's a big value. And obviously there is a value for developers because anyone can build anything and attract users. There is grant program that are very useful. You can build permissionless protocols like Ethereum. You can. I feel like the switch is you rely much more on community approval than on corporate approval. That's the big switch. And it's for everything. Same for business. Like the biggest value that blockchain gave to the people is they removed middlemen. And I would say this is the biggest value.
Spot on, Axel. When it comes down to I think the Web3 users and developer side, you definitely are way more educated and astute than I am in that in that regard. But on the business owner side, I'm right there with you, man. I feel like DPINs are a great way to bring value to business owners, to be honest. And just like you said, Axel, not only does it mitigate middleman costs, which we all love to harp about, it also helps us expand our user base, right? It expands our user base based on incentive based participation, and it's the best part about all this is that it is built on top of things that a typical Web2 consumer already does in their daily life. Like if you're going to drive from point A to point B, then you might as well provide that data and get paid for it. Or if you don't feel comfortable with it, then learn more about it. I think the idea with DPINs is that it brings a lot of eyes towards what decentralization could be, but it doesn't force people into doing it right away. So having that balanced approach, I think, is really important. After all, I think decentralization is kind of subject to the person using it and how much they are willing to really put in. But but I also do think decentralization is executed incorrectly by a lot of teams and business owners alike. But actually, during your time, Axel, in Web3, has there been any specific moments where the concept of decentralization has been executed correctly according to your vision?
Yeah, well, I think you you made a lot of good points. Yeah, a lot of team unfortunately didn't respect the, let's say, Satoshi Nakamoto thesis, or manifesto, whatever. I agree with you guys, and I would say there is a lot of interesting project in Web3, but I think done it right. I do a lot of DeFi as well, and I would say in DeFi there will be, for example, the stablecoin DAI. I think it's a great example because, okay, DAI is a decentralized stablecoin, but is backed by on-chain collateral, like Ethereum, basically. So everyone can mint DAI by depositing ETH. So it's fully transparent because it's on-chain, but it's governed by a DAO maker, right? So it's censorship resistant, and it's kind of programmable money since it's algorithmic stablecoin. And DAI, you can use it for DeFi. You can use it to send it to someone. Since one DAI equal $1, it's just backed not by dollars like USDT, but it's backed by Ethereum. So after it's just algorithm, it's over collateralized. So there is a little chance that it's unpegged like UST for the old OG that
Hmm.
remember this crash.
Thinking back on DAOs, it's actually been a while, and I know this is not entirely on a topic of our discussion, but I do think this is something that's important for at least for newcomers to know because back in the day, I say back in the day, about 4 or 5 years ago, Axel, decentralized governance was very popular. I'm not sure if it is still as
Yeah.
popular now, but what are your thoughts on this? Did DAO governance become more popular, or did it fall out of the flavor? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's that's a good point. No, I smiled because I remember Mark Cuban saying he was bullish on two things: NFTs and DAO. And
Yeah.
both of them disappeared almost. I remember it was in 2021, and this was the top of market back then. Oh my god, we should have sold. I should have sold everything when Mark Cuban pronounced these words. But otherwise, I do believe in this technology. I think NFTs are great. Obviously, I didn't want to trash talk them. And DAO is a great philosophical idea. I don't know for the execution right now. I think it's still a little bit. Like not so good. There's a lot of DeFi protocol that you can make extra bucks by literally like uh, selling your vote, and it's called even like they pay you to bribe you, basically, and it's a normal practice. It's integrated in the protocol, so that's funny. Like we we go back in time, with technology. But otherwise, I like the things. Me as a libertarian, I do not believe the government, and I wish like we could have a DAO that will execute when you vote. Like everything is ruled by a smart contract, and after up the former president go away, and then the new one is replaced automatically. Everything is executed. But obviously, it's very philosophical, and I don't. There is very little chances right now that this will be adopted since well, for the politicians, it's not the best way. Like they like
Hmm.
to do their things on their side. They don't like trustless network, I would say.
Hmm. And to me, it always feels like, especially with decentralized governance or anything with decentralization, to be honest, it's not just about how DAOs were at one point in time. It's kind of how about DAOs change over time, right? And I think this ties in perfectly into the concept of understanding the evolution of decentralization. So when we look back, like the Web3 space has evolved a lot since the early days of Bitcoin. But if we actually take a snippet at the recent cycle here, Axel, how would you say the concept of decentralization has changed over the past 5 years?
That's a very good question, Ice. I would say that 5 years ago it was the beginning of something because it was very ideological, philosophical, and it was very much focused on anti-authority. This was like an anti-bank rhetoric, and back then there was no institution that were started to join us, right? And I think it was by the end of last year or something like this. Like institution really start to take action to join us, and obviously the whole thing with Trump, all the market pumped, and I don't know, like because it was such a big green chart. Like Bitcoin went over 100K. It's a symbol,
Hmm.
right? I think like people forgot that at the base it was supposed to be the enemy, and now they were happy that they joined us, right? So it's a little bit strange in my opinion. But otherwise, I'm kind of bullish. I don't really care if they join us or not, because back then tools were kind of primitive, and the UX was a little bit bad. But now there is a new project such as Abstract, for example, that simplify everything, allow online streaming, etc. And this is the beginning of a new era, in my opinion, where everything will be abstracted, meaning everything will be simplified to the maximum, so people can use it frictionless. So yeah, I do believe it's changed a lot. Now it's much more pragmatic, and people want to keep out decentralized, such as like money, identity, infrastructure. We see it with DePIN, like Helium, for example, or FriggHome, soon. And yeah, tech has matured. It's much easier to use. Now we talk much more about ZK, for example. I really like this technology, so I quote it often. There is modular chain. We see a beginning of hype around Celestia. Rollups, obviously, it's a big part of Ethereum right now. So yeah, there is a greater balance between ideology and usability, I would say.
Yes, that I love that last bit, the usability the side of things. That's exactly where it hit home for me, man. You know, as institutions really start to really pivot and join us in Web3, it kind of feels fishy, right? Like you guys were against us, and perhaps certain places in the world they still are. But it really feels like once certain conditions were met, that is when institutions started to pull the trigger. And when they came like, and the floodgates were open, like markets are pumping. It feels almost too good to be true to us sometimes. Like, is this manipulated, or is this actually institutions saying, giving us the go, saying that these are the conditions that they were looking for and they were met. The only problem now is that we, the average Joe, behind our computer screens, we don't know what these conditions were, and we will not find out until after the pump is already over. So quite a lot to think about. But I really liked what you said about just the true value, the usability, because like you said, Axel, like tools are so primitive compared to what they're like today, right? Now the UI UX
Yeah.
is better, but also the utility and the value that it brings is more aligned to what human beings actually need. So I think this is a solid advancement from 2020 to now 2025. But if we take this a step further, Axel, how do you see decentralization changing over the next 5 years? 2030, what would blockchain and what would the world look like then?
Yeah. Yeah. I take time because
Yeah.
I have a vision, in mind. I have like a kind of futuristic vision about that. I think decentralization will become invisible, kind of. I remember Rand Hindi, which is the CEO of Zama. He's a French entrepreneur, and he said, "What if in HTTPS?" So when you type for the people who doesn't know what is HTTPS, it's when you type your URL, www.facebook.com, for example,
That's
it's
right.
HTTPS slash slash www, etc. So it's like in the protocol itself. And what if we have fully homomorphic encryption that allow you to communicate with any website, any application, but you keep your data for yourself. It's still private, but it's inside the protocol itself. It's inside IP, Internet Protocol. And I think this is the future of decentralization. It got to be invisible. You get to use it on a daily basis, such as internet, without knowing what's going on behind. And if we go further in this, UX will match Web 2 UX. Because right now we have specific standard. If you go to Pendle and you never did DeFi in your life, good luck, man. You won't understand nothing. Because it's very sophisticated. It's for initiated person. So I do believe for the internet part, it will match Web 2. Like it will be very easy. Concerning the infrastructure, I think it will run on decentralized rails. We see with project, I already quoted this project, Helium, for example. Helium, they launched their a mobile subscription that works really well in the USA. And yeah, now you can literally have 5G. They have even a free plan, like you can have up to 3 gigabyte, I think, per month for free on your phone, and it's made by DePIN. So I by DePIN, sorry. So I do believe that infrastructures will be decentralized as well and will allow some things that we could not with centralized infrastructure, because DePIN will allow infrastructure at edge. We can see it with GPUs, for example, Aether. Like you can literally like buy. I forgot the name of their device, but you can buy their device. It's a big device like this GPU. It mints their coins, and also you can allocate this for your own use of your AI, your video games, graphism, or whatever, or you can rent it to their marketplace. And this is a little bit primitive right now, because it's just like you rent some GPU, for example. This is the case for Aether or Render, but it's at edge. So basically, for example, for FriggHome, we are building right now the Frigg box, and the Frigg box will allow to make the blockchain physical and tangible, because in each Frigg box we will distribute a network that will host blockchains such as Ethereum and also our own network, and also we will have some BOT, which stands for blockchain of things, and those smart devices will be connected on the Frigg box at people's home, and this free box is connected to the blockchain. So those connected objects, such as, I don't know, a smart lock, uh, heater, window, TV, whatever, will be connected on the blockchain and not on the internet. And this can allow smart cities, smart homes, etc. So I do believe that in the next 5 years, we will start to have all of these kinds of movement, where back then it was owned by big corporate companies such as Samsung or Google, but now it will be owned by the people for the people.
Hmm. I love that, Axel, and I think Emmy also loves you as well. So I see you, Emmy. I see you in the chat there. Emmy says,
Hi, Amy.
Axel and Ice the Legends. Thank you, Emmy. Appreciate you. You know what's really cool about that is that as you were talking, Axel, it really got me thinking. Over the course of the 5 years that we've seen, how things have changed and how things will look into the future. And I think my vision is kind of synonymous with yours. I'm not gonna lie. So kind of piggybacking off what you said, Axel. I feel like let's use DPINs for an example, right? I feel like DPINs are going to be built natively within apps. So let's take Waze for example. Are you familiar with Waze?
Yes,
It's a
Waze is
drive.
the
Yeah, the
yeah.
driving app. Yeah, yeah. So imagine like right now everybody they're basically doing the same thing already. Like if you see a police officer or you see a collision, then you have the option to automatically report it. But back then you actually have to customly flag it. But now it's like yeah, you're driving, you shouldn't be using your phone anyway. But the point is, it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult to press a button and to relay that, okay, the cop was here 5 minutes ago. You just passed by this location. Is the police officer still on site? Yes or no? They make it very easy to do. And I think this idea of streamlining the user experience and the interface itself, I do see this blowing up on a major level, such that these DePIN elements are built in natively into apps just like Waze, but maybe it's going to be optional, right? It's going to give you options for
Hmm.
actually interacting with it, but no matter what, I think this is great because it kind of it showcases the potential of how you can earn by participating in these DePIN programs. And secondly, once people actually understand the incentive models behind it, this then becomes a catalyst to actually bring in more Web 2 users into Web 3. And the other example that I was kind of thinking of is DePINs natively built into home apps like FriggHome. So imagine we have like what is it, like Alexa, like, or I hope I don't trigger my phone or
Yeah.
anything by saying the other one that starts with an S. So I'm not gonna say it, but I feel like there are systems that we can integrate into our home security that have native built-in DePIN elements to it. So that being said, if this is the future that ICE sees, I would love to just ask you this, Axel. What is the future for DePINs that Axel sees in the coming 5 years?
Yeah, that's another very good question. I really like your vision. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think it should be like this. I wouldn't say that we will see spaceship everywhere, things like this. This is anonymous. This is not Axel. Axel believed that. Axel believed that people will start to use more and more decentralized infrastructure on a daily basis without really knowing what it is. They will just know that there is kind of a incentivizing program. We saw that back then with there was a they sold that as a passive way of making money or extra bucks per month. You just had to like answer to some pool online. It's like companies that want to make market research, and you just answer and you like paid maybe like 7 cents per click, something like this. And by answering this question, you get extra bucks. And I think all of the people, wherever they're from, Web 2 or Web 3, are looking for this kind of passive money. I mean, this is not passive, but or does extra bucks. And if we can design a product that match Web 2 experience, and we put them in front of them and saying, but this product works, plus because you uh, host or network, you get a share of profit and you get that much money per day. And I think this is the future of DeFi. Just over 5 years is like people will slowly get more and more devices in their home, and there will be some breakthrough, some project we haven't seen coming, like Helium that did a partnership with T-Mobile. So like some DePIN project that will in their supply chain, they will be directly in the store like Walmart, so people will buy it in from their shop, and they will start to be initiated to Web 3, and from there we can build some big network. So I do believe that more and more people will be on board, and I do also believe that BOT and DePIN and also RWA will be like a little percent of this, but all of this will bring mass adoption, I think.
I think so as well. And I honestly, I over the past not even 5 years, man. I think over the past like half a year, or maybe in like just a couple of months, I've already seen more and more of this happening around our daily lives. Actually, a good friend of mine, he actually goes and, I don't want to say sell. That's not really the best word to go about it, but he's approaching traditional businesses and really kind of just like pitching what DPINs can do to enhance their
Mm,
product, to enhance their deal flow, and to actually get more people's hand get their product in the hands of more people all around the world. So really do think this is happening. I think the most powerful element about all this is that with the DPIN system, it's not money that you have to work extra to do. It is more so money that they are missing out on because they are contributing the data already anyway. But if we really
that's right.
examine, yeah, if we really examine the obstacles of our reality right now, the reality is that we are living in a world that is highly dominated by centralized systems, right?
Yeah.
But in that camp of thought, Axel, do you believe decentralization and centralization can coexist in some kind of meaningful way?
Yes, they must coexist. I mean, it's a little bit of a mental battle, I would say, because this decentralization and centralization actually uh, always existed through human history. For example, they created a kind of a distributed network back then during the medieval era. Why? Because the king couldn't manage the whole country, because the whole country was too big. So they created lords, and basically the promise to the lord is, okay, I'm your king, you're my lord, and if you choose to stay with me, I will give you a land, and under me, you will manage all of those people. So you're the chief of something, right? So so this was kind of a distributed network, right? And centralized into one core government. I think it's almost the same with USA, which is there is the president and there is also the states with the governor of the states, right? And yeah, but if you look at France, for example, this is pure centralization. There is one president that manages everything along the ministers and decide everything. It was the same for the antique Roman Empire, and they killed Julius Caesar, for example. Unfortunately. So yeah, this is the problem. I think everything get to coexist, and full the problem is full decentralization often slow things down, for now, and the UX is complicated. Why centralization offer speed, a great UX, and also if you lose something like your funds, you have someone to turn to. So I would say that, I would actually get back one of my CTO words. He always say to the new engineer that join our team, he says, at FriggHome, we aim for a centralization way of using the interface, the UI, but we aim for decentralization backend. So we are not in charge of everything. The committee has the power to decide whether or not we want to do something, if they want to use us or not. And on the other side, everything is simplified with UX. I'm so excited, man, to to show our product that we are going to release soon, because it is exactly what I mean when I say this. Like, everything is beautiful, super simple. It's abstracted, to take back the term from abstract, but everything is decentralized, And I think this would be the way that we coexist.
Spot on, Axel. And also to your point with a FriggHome, I do see certain types of projects with certain value propositions synergizing better with decentralization over others, right? And actually, on that note, I wanted to actually ask you this a couple of questions before, but I figured I would keep the better ones for last. And that is, when we really look at the industries and the businesses in the real world, can you think of any examples of industries or use cases where you believe this balance of this balance of having coexisting decentralization and centralization can actually work?
Yeah, I have two things in mind right now when I speak to you. Obviously, abstract. I think abstract is great. They really spot on, how to make a kind of centralized dashboard with decentralized application. And also, okay, maybe some people would not agree with me, because I know the OG in DeFi prefer much more USDT, but I believe USDC is a very good example, since they comply with regulation, they issue the USDC backed by USD, uh, but you can own the USDC and use them through every DeFi protocol you want. So I do believe that USDC is a very good example of this. What do you think?
I think USDC is actually fantastic, but in addition to what you just said, Axel, I think stable coins overall is a great way to make this movement happen, because like when you think about it, one of the major obstacles like going from like traditional banking systems is such that there's too, like we said before, there's so many middlemen, right? Like we have to go through the
Yeah.
banks, they have to do the exchange, and then they have to do the foreign exchange that's behind our backs because we don't see that happening. They are they taking a cut from that? Probably. And then that exchange happens to the recipient, and then the recipient in the other country needs to go through that whole process again. They have to go through the foreign exchange, and then the recipient gets the money. So every single step along the way, it's going to cost something. And this is the nature with centralized systems, right? This is the nature with custodial services. A lot of us need it. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of us, I know my parents absolutely do need it. Sometimes I need it myself. When it comes down to taxes, man, I do need it as well. But
Yeah.
I think the power behind this though is that when we think about utilizing these services and this utility via stablecoins, now instead of the money leaving, we can use the tokens and have the tokens leave. By having USDC and stablecoins and using that as the transaction, the tokens can leave, but the money, the actual currency, the money itself, the physical currency itself doesn't have to move. And I think, and it's very basic when we really think about it when it comes down to it, but just that data, just the energy that is required to perform, just the fees that we are saving by cutting out all these middlemen. I think this has a lot of discussion power into why decentralization and centralization should really be holding hands and start talking to each other, because I don't think we can live in a perfect world where one reigns 100% supreme over the other, right? What are your thoughts on that, Axel?
Yeah, I mean, like if one should exist and not, and the other should die, centralization will win. Because I mean, all the politics are the master of the game, right? Big corporation, politics, etc. So I do believe that we need to coexist to exist, first of all, and second, I
Yeah.
think it's kind of like I like Matrix, like the movie, the first, and I think it's kind of this, it's like this kind of bug in the matrix is there. This is centralization. You can own your money, you can own your data, you can own things while no one next to you own nothing. And that's what is scary, right? Because most of the people, when you talk about Ethereum, Bitcoin, even, they think it's a scam, man. Like I remember I was going to Paris Blockchain Week, and I talked to this waiter, and he said, "Oh, what you doing here?" Because I don't have a Parisian accent, and he said, we said, "Oh, we are going to the Paris Blockchain Week." I said, "Blockchain? What is that?" I said, Bitcoin," and he said, "Oh yeah, the scam." And I was like, "Wow, Bitcoin is less a scam than Euro or USD, right? Like it's really backed by a lot of value behind." And man, I was surprised. It's kind of this bug in the matrix, but more and more people are understanding this, and this is why we see institution adopting it, because they are very smart. They are smart men. They have the best brains out there because they can afford it. So they understood that this is a pure opportunity, and they don't want to be left behind. So they get in the market, and after they can just buy everything. It's like in every war. For example, I know in Ukraine there is a war, obviously, unfortunately, but a lot of rich people from different places went in Ukraine and buy places because it's very cheap right now because of the war. And I think it's about opportunity, and yeah, like people just buy things and get into what they can if they see opportunity, and decentralization is an opportunity for centralization as well, actually.
Mhm. I love your I love the comparison and the reference to the Matrix. I can't remember who said this specifically, but I did hear a couple of days ago. There's this whole it's like strange like he's the one, no, you're the one like situation going on between TradFi and DeFi, such that like TradFi is calling DeFi the Matrix and DeFi is calling TradFi the Matrix. So who really is the one that should be taking the red or blue pill in this situation here? It's really interesting to think like that. But obviously, I mean, with some degree of bias, right, Axel? I think you and I both being within the Web3 space, we're obviously believers of blockchain technology and the use cases that it can bring to empower humankind. But we also came from the world of Web 2, if you want to call it that, if you really want to think about it like that. So we have seen both the pros and cons of both sides. But at the end of the day, I think it's a unanimous decision at this point that we can agree on the fact that if we move towards a more decentralized version of the world, this is where we start to unlock the possibilities of really taking the technology to solve the problems that we're trying to combat. So, on the notion of making this move over to the decentralized world, let's talk about this first for a second, man. Moving from a decentralized to a more moving from a centralized to a more decentralized world, it does feel like a massive leap for us right now. Even for us that's been here for a long time. There's a lot of things that we still need to learn and adapt to. But for individuals, that have like no idea of what this is, it's a very jarring change for them, right? So
Yeah.
in order for this pivot to occur on a more global level, Axel, where do you think we should start in order to bridge this gap?
Yeah, that's another good question. I think that, yeah, clearly now it's just too complex, and I think we have to be the one that make the work first. Things are too complicated. We have to understand the value, the technical things behind the system, because, man, I mean, like right now. you have so many things to learn if you don't want your wallet to get drained, right? So how a normal person can confidently come in the Web3 space, thinking that they will make money or just be autonomous. It's not possible. If you forget your 12 words, for example, your private key, you lose your funds. If you mistake a website because a copy has been created and you connect your MetaMask on it, you lose your fund. If you, I mean, there is so much things. Even to me, the other day, it happened something. It's like I switched from Ledger to Trezor about cold wallet, and I created what they call the passphrase wallet, which is I didn't know it's like they basically on the application of Trezor, I couldn't find my wallet with my ETH, and I was like, what the hell? And so I couldn't find, and after talking to a friend that is a kind of a OG in this, making research, thinking 2 hours, how do I recover my ETH? Like I can see it on MetaMask, but I cannot see it on Trezor, which do not allow me to move my funds anyhow. Like I cannot send crypto, I cannot interact with any protocol, I cannot do nothing because I have to sign on my Trezor, but on my Trezor I do not find my wallet. I'm like, man, it's so complicated. I've been in the space for years, and I couldn't understand. And after sometimes I understood that they have what they call passphrase wallet that you have to add. It's not automatic. You have to add yourself with the password you put when you create it by mistake, and then it shows up on your application temporarily. So you have to remember all the time. And I was like, man, yeah, this is too complicated. So I think we have to start like this. And after, when it's open, it's easy to understand for the people, then there will be a switch in the mindset through education, through I wouldn't say use the word KOL, but I would say influencer, which is a larger spectrum of people that will start to talk about it, and then we'll have people that are interested in investment that will join us because they understand there is opportunity. So it's more like retailers or investors in Web2 or even physical world, real estate, etc. That will do, for example, fractional real estate with companies such as Realty or whatever. And after, sometimes we will have the thing with DePIN is like people who have, for example, a Wi-Fi box that earns money for them. So it gives them internet plus also reward because they host internet as well. And slowly by slowly, people will start to understand if the UX is simple enough. I believe. What do you think? What can bridge the s- the gap?
Yeah, I think just in general complexity is something that has to happen, but it depends on how many times we refine it before we actually pitch this in an educational tone. Because after all, when teachers have their lesson plans in their mind, they understand the concepts a lot differently than students do. But as I always say, one of the best ways to learn is to teach somebody. So when it comes down to teaching somebody else, it's really effective when you can turn that concept and just dumb it down, make it as less as least complex as possible, make it easy to understand. And once you actually get it down to those terms, you effectively teach others that same concept, but you also refine the education in your own brain. And I think this very same approach can be taken with crypto and with decentralization versus centralization. The idea that we all live in this centralized world where we're used to all these systems working on its own, like that is totally fine. But once we have people, like you said, like KOLs, influencers, once we have individuals at that level start providing educational content that is not only just a giant thread on Twitter, but it's actually useful. It's useful information and it's easy to absorb and to understand. I think that really is the key, man, because like just like yourself, I've been using Ledger for years, and what you just described back there with the whole Tesla situation, that sounds like a nightmare. That sounds like a ton of fire loops to jump through. Not really sure if I want to go through that.
The UX was smooth, to onboard it was smooth, like to send your ETH on the Trezor was smooth, but when you have to spend them, it became a little bit more complicated than I thought.
Yeah, it's like little subtle tricks in their UX that makes you stay on their branding and stay on their product. I think there's a slight element to that, no matter what we do, and that's that I think that's an issue for maybe another topic of discussion for another space. I think that's like
Yeah.
blockchain liquidity fragmentation and all that stuff. But uh, I do want to actually pull up this comment. We got a message coming in from the King Tech O that says, so sorry, I was expecting a space. I hope I am not too late. You are good, King Tech O. You actually pulled up just on time for the $1 million question to wrap up today's live stream. And that is, my man Axel, what do you think is the number one obstacle that we need to conquer in order for centralization to pivot towards decentralization?
Yeah, man. I will repeat myself, but I really think it's UX. Really, like if it's not as easy as Web2 tools, people won't care how free it is, and even worse, like how much money it can make you. Because right now, if you use DeFi, if you compare your bank rate, you put it in a vault in your bank, maybe it will give you 2% per year in the best case scenario, at least in France. But in DeFi, just you hold USDC, you can make 5%. Like you hold stable coins, you don't take any risk, you can get 5%. Some protocols that are more exotic will give you maybe like 20%, but you take your risk. It's there is no advice in this, but yeah, user experience is the key to be adopted. We can see back then in Facebook. I remember I was how old I was when Facebook was popular in France. I think I was around 12 years old, and as a 12 years old kid, I could sign up on Facebook, man. But do you think a 12 years old kid can use Pendle? It's impossible. It's impossible. So I do believe UX is the key for adoption. Is it the same thing you think, or something different for you?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And I was actually thinking about something that you said earlier in today's show, Axel, which is about an abstract. And the example I had in my mind is synergizes very perfectly with what you said. And the line of thought I kind of had going there was that as a Web2 user, right? If it's not as easy than what I'm already using, then I'm probably going to show signs of resistance to it. And also, if the value of the service that it provides doesn't exceed what the original service that I'm already using, then it's going to lack momentum in terms of adoption. So when it comes
Yeah.
down to UX, that is exactly what it is. Now, when it comes down to UI, I love that example that you brought up with a 12-year-old trying to make a Facebook account versus a 12-year-old trying to figure out what the heck a ledger is. And I think abstract is a great example to really tie all things together, because not only do I not need to know what the heck a ledger, a cold wallet, seed phrase, and blah, 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 and all that stuff is, the only thing I need to know is my email. And that
Yeah.
is the exact same thing that you need to sign up for a Facebook account. You don't need to know what the blockchain is. You don't need to know any seed phrase. You just need an email. And abstract illustrates that magnificently. So
We,
bring
we
things.
do.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to reply about this. And Abstract is making a very good marketing right now. I mean, when they launched, everyone was talking about this. That was very good, very bullish on the ecosystem. But now they are making even a better marketing. Like those videos where you're like your people that are streaming on their side, they have 0 viewers or maybe like 2 viewers, and some stranger, like for example a streamer like I Show Speed, he made a video like this, I remember, but he tipped like $10,000, and like people were shocked. And now they're doing the same thing now, abstract. So people that are streaming like this, they have like maybe 20 viewers. Someone I read the other day and tips, I think like 12,000 worth of ETH, and everyone is talking about this. So most of the KOL are tweeting about this. So more and more people will start using abstract, which is what you are saying. It's the network effect. So more and more people will join abstract and more activity. So it's a flywheel basically. And I do believe this will be the same for Web3 at some point.
Well said, Axel. Comes down to the UI UX, man, and then additionally build on top of the systems that already work, build on top of the systems that consumers are already familiar with, but make sure to do it more seamless, but make sure to also do it better. However, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to mark the end of our live show for today. Thank you so much, Axel, for once again joining us, for really taking the time to discuss all these things. It's always a pleasure to speak with the founder and to get their insights on subject matters surrounding the space and, of course, decentralization. But also, thank you guys in the audience for all your likes, comments, and retweets. We really do appreciate all the love and support. And one last time, make sure you guys are following both Axel and FriggHome's house account. And of course, remember to turn on those notifications so you guys don't miss out on any of the latest updates. But until then, this is going to be Ice and Axel signing off, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.